All right, let's get right into it. You hear about AI and machine learning everywhere, right? It's all about these amazing, mind-blowing advancements. But today, we're going to peek under the hood, look at the real engine room. We're talking about one of the most critical, but honestly often overlooked parts of this whole revolution, the database. And we're going to focus on the top dogs for 2025.
So let me ask you, what's really the engine behind all this AI magic? The thing that powers your Netflix recommendations or those super complex predictive models. Is it just a ton of clever code?
Well, not exactly. The foundation for pretty much all modern AI, it's not just the algorithm, it's the data. The gigantic, massive mountains of data these things are trained on. And maybe even more important is how we manage all that data. That's where databases come into play. They are the absolute unsung heroes of the AI world. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll talk about why data is AI's foundational fuel. Then we'll hit the great database divide. After that, we'll look at SQL for structure and reliability, and then NoSQL for scale and speed. Finally, we'll bring it all together to help you think about choosing the right foundation for your AI. All right, let's start with AI's foundational fuel. And look, it's impossible to overstate this. Databases are the absolute bedrock. Without a solid, reliable way to manage information, all those fancy machine learning models, well, they'd have nothing to learn from. It's like trying to build a skyscraper without a foundation. Okay, so what is a database, really? I mean, at its heart, it's just a collection of information. But the key thing is that it's set up so you can easily access, manage, and update that information. And the whole thing is controlled by a piece of software called a database management system, or a DBMS. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a super organized digital filing cabinet for literally everything an AI needs to know. Okay, now for the great database divide. Because here's the thing, not all those digital filing cabinets are created equal. Not even close. In the world of data, there's this huge split in philosophy on how to organize information. And that brings us to the two big families you absolutely need to know, SQL and NoSQL. So on one side of this divide, you've got SQL databases. The best way to picture these is like a perfectly organized library. Every single piece of information has a specific place, on a specific shelf, and everything is interconnected in a really logical way. They're all about structure, reliability, and making sure the data is rock solid and consistent. Then, on the other side, you have NoSQL. This is, well, it's more like a collection of digital folders where you can just toss anything in. Text, images, videos, you name it. There's no rigid structure. These guys are built for pure speed, flexibility, and handling just insane amounts of all kinds of different data. Okay, let's talk about SQL, structure and reliability. So we're diving into that first philosophy, the SQL family, the champions of consistency. The bottom line here is, if your AI application absolutely, positively cannot have incorrect or inconsistent data, I'm talking financial systems, critical enterprise software, then these are your go-to databases. And a perfect example of this philosophy in action is number 5 on our list, PostgreSQL. This thing is an absolute powerhouse in the relational database world, and believe me, it's a huge favorite among developers for a very good reason. This quote really nails it. Popular due to its speed and reliability, highly useful for developers who are looking to develop applications to protect data integrity. See those keywords? Speed, reliability, and data integrity. That's the heart and soul of the SQL philosophy. PostgreSQL is basically built to be a fortress for your data. It's designed to make sure that what goes in is exactly what comes out, every single time, without fail. And it's not just talk. It delivers on this promise with some really powerful features. We're talking about a super robust access control system, advanced indexes, and things like nested transactions. That last one is cool. It basically lets you bundle a bunch of complex operations together so they either all succeed or all fail. It's stuff like this that gives you that strict consistency and security that AI apps, especially ones that rely on super precise data, absolutely demand. And of course, PostgreSQL isn't the only one in this club. You've got other heavyweights like MySQL, MariaDB, and Microsoft SQL Server. They're all part of the same family, built on that same core principle, structure and reliability above all else. All right, let's jump across that great divide and talk about NoSQL, scale and speed. These are the powerhouses of flexibility. And if the SQL family is all about building a data fortress, then the NoSQL family, they're all about building a data superhighway. These things are designed for one main goal, to handle massive, often chaotic volumes of data, and to do it at blistering speeds. And coming in at number 1 on our list is a perfect example, MongoDB. Seriously, if you're working with big data in AI, there's almost no way you haven't heard of this one. It is a truly dominant force in the NoSQL world. And as this quote says, it's popular because of its scalability. That one word is everything for MongoDB. It was literally designed from day one to just grow. As your AI project's data needs explode, and trust me, they always do, MongoDB just expands right along with it. It scales horizontally, which is a fancy way of saying you just keep throwing more servers at it and it knows how to handle the load. And its features totally back this up. Take sharding, for instance. It's this brilliant technique that automatically chops up massive datasets and spreads them across a bunch of servers. That way, no single machine ever gets totally bogged down. It's this kind of engineering that lets it handle the absolutely immense data loads that modern, data-hungry AI apps need, all without even breaking a sweat. Okay, next up at number 2, we have another NoSQL giant. This one is called Redis, and it has a slightly different kind of superpower. The magic phrase in this quote is fast in-memory data store. See, most databases store their data on a hard disk, which is, pretty fast. But Redis, it holds everything directly in the computer's RAM, its main memory. And that makes accessing the data, well, it's not just fast, it's pretty much instantaneous. It is ridiculously quick. And it's because of that raw speed that Redis is the absolute go-to for real-time AI jobs. We're talking about things like live fraud detection or real-time bidding on online ads or those instant recommendations you get on a shopping site. Basically, any situation where even a millisecond of delay, what we call latency, is the enemy, Redis is going to be your best friend. So, now it's time for the big decision, choosing your AI's foundation. We've seen the two camps, right? The structured and reliable world of SQL and the super fast, super flexible world of NoSQL. So that brings us to the million-dollar question. How on earth do you choose? And the answer really is simpler than you might think. You've got to match the tool to the task. And this table right here, this is basically your cheat sheet. We've laid out all 10 of the top databases, including our big 3, MongoDB, Redis, and PostgreSQL. You can see right away how each one lines up with a specific need. For example, you got a massive, flexible data application, MongoDB is your jam. Need screaming fast real-time performance? Look at Redis. Need absolute bulletproof data integrity and complex queries? PostgreSQL has your back. See? It really is all about figuring out what problem your AI is actually trying to solve. So if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. There is no single best database for AI. Anyone who tries to tell you that is missing the entire point. The real question isn't which database is better. The real question is which database is better for me, for my project. It all boils down to your specific needs. What do you care about most? Structure, speed, or scale? Once you answer that, you'll know exactly which foundation to build on. And that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As AI gets more and more complex, more demanding, is this great divide between SQL and NoSQL going to last forever? Or are we going to see a new breed of hybrid databases emerge? Something that gives us the best of both worlds. The rigid structure of SQL combined with the insane scale of NoSQL. That right there is the big question mark hanging over the future of data.